Why is New York City spending over $65 million on a trans-only homeless shelter whose residents get yoga classes, culinary classes, and are loved up on? Aces Place is the first fully taxpayer-funded shelter to only house transgender and gender non-conforming people. It's right here in Long Island City, and I wish I could show you, but it's on a list of protected sites. So despite repeated calls, texts, and emails, the city refused to tell me where it's at. One study found a third of transgender people report being homeless at some point in their lives. But why does a shelter for them have to cost over $433,000 per bed? Well, in 2021, as part of a settlement with a trans activist named Mariah Lopez, the city was required to provide at least 30 beds to trans and gender nonconforming residents. Lopez, who is the executive director of the Strategic Transgender Alliance for Radical Reform, filed multiple complaints against the New York City Department of Homeless Services in 2017. They included discrimination over accommodation of Lopez's service animal, sexual harassment, assault, and retaliation based on Lopez's transgender status. But this isn't Lopez's first lawsuit. In 2007, they sued the city for being diagnosed with gender dysphoria as a minor while in state custody and successfully won taxpayer-funded gender reassignment surgery. But now Mariah Lopez personally gets to review and provide feedback on the state's non-discrimination policy. And the city must issue Lopez a report every 6 months with data on the shelter names, locations, and number of people housed in transgender shelters. Why? Well, Lopez's latest settlement included a slew of stipulations, including an undisclosed cash payment redacted from public documents. Now trans and gender nonconforming people must be given the option to be at a men's, women's, or transgender shelter. It's up to them. They also can't be denied their shelter of choice if there is room, and they must be allowed to move between shelters if it better affirms their identity. The settlement also requires shelter staff go through a mandatory training on the rights of trans and gender nonconforming residents. They can't discriminate based on gender identity, and if they do, they have to go through another retraining or face suspension or termination. Finally, the settlement mandates the Department of Homeless Services creates at least one transgender and gender nonconforming shelter in Manhattan, the Bronx, Queens, and Brooklyn. Which brings us back to Aces Place here in Queens. It's set to receive $65 million in funding over the next 5 years, which breaks out to over $7,200 per bed per month. And that's a drop in the bucket to the city's Department of Homeless Services, which has a $2 billion annual budget. The shelter's executive director describes it as an opportunity for you to come home. But at that cost, why not just buy them a home?